guys, welcome to the Matt and Kendall Hagee podcast, and I have to tell you, I am absolutely excited and a little bit scared about what's going to happen.
On this
I
podcast.
am outnumbered. Double trouble is here in the studio today as we have a conversation with Stacy Lyn Harris. Stacy Lyn was a guest on The Difference with Kendall and I over a year ago, and it was one of those individuals that you meet that you immediately have a very real kindred connection with because their values and their convictions align with yours. You don't really have to know much about them. You just feel like they understand who you are and you understand who they are. And the things that made that real for us, Stacy, was that your family was involved in who you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what you do was revolving around your family.
Right.
I want to pull out at the forefront of our conversation here is you are an attorney.
Yes.
Graduated from law school.
Yes.
You know, a career woman and you know, made some life decisions that really changed the path of your life, but allowed all the aspects of your life to be involved. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I always knew, I didn't really know I wanted to have children, actually. It just kind of, and actually I probably didn't more than I did.
You told me that on the Difference segment that one time. You said, I don't know if I was at the beginning going to have kids.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about it a whole lot, but I knew that I wanted to stay at home if I could, if I did have them. And my mom was really a big career woman, and she was like one of the top people for the Postal Service in the United States. I mean, she was like huge. And I come from, you know, some divorces and I don't, not personally, but you know, but my mom and, you know, my dad was in Vietnam, and, you know, a lot of those people had some issues and all that kind of thing. And so she worked her and she raised me to be independent and, you know, smart and to have all the attributes of a career, you know, in mind, just so I would be protected throughout life.
You know, that's really something that jumped out whenever I heard your story is that you basically, from your situation, you chose to compliment your husband.
Yes.
And you know, it's very interesting how all that comes to light. So keep telling the story.
Oh, wow. So, but that is so true. When you're talking, I'm thinking through, you know, the times in my life that were, you know, kind of life changers. And one particular time, so I stayed home, got my law degree, graduated, had a child during law school. We left the day I had we took the bar exam. We left that next day, went to Birmingham for my husband to go to UAB. I was without anything. I had no friends there. I had nothing, but I had Scott and my son. So I did a lot of soul searching while I was there.
You had a law degree, a baby, and a husband.
Yes. And it was like, I'm all alone, you know, out here. But I really decided I was just going to enjoy that time because I had been, you know, in high school, you know, always competitive and homecoming queen and this and that. It was kind of nice to just like be by myself and to think, who am I, you know? And so I changed a lot during those next 4 years because I just read the Bible, you know, a lot. I was seeking God. I was saying, what do you want for me? And, you know, and obviously, I wasn't thinking about having more children, but the Lord laid it on our heart. We had another baby while we were there. We moved back to Montgomery, and while we were there, Scott is a big hunter, as y'all know.
Yes.
And one of the things that's so ironic is I hated it, and I felt competitive, you know, with it. And then that is what my life has become and my career and a blessing in our life beyond measure because of the one day that I felt like God was saying, you need to stop bucking him and you need to bend with him.
I love that.
So,
stop bucking and bend with him.
Yes. And don't make him feel guilty. Let him go and I will do it. It's not you that convicts him. It's me.
And so, you know, to those who know you, you have a line of cookbooks and information.
Yes,
you got a whole digital platform
author,
that talks about, you know, how to take the things you grow for yourself, the things that your family brings in from the field, the game they harvest, how to cook it all. So it's really ironic that you went from you went from I don't want you to go hunting to now you have a literal business.
You have a wild game recipe.
You have a business that's built around him going hunting.
And, you know, it's...
Time out. you have a business that's built around him going hunting.
It's true. Yeah. It's absolutely true.
See how he emphasized that twice?
She has a business built around him going hunting.
I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah. It's not outdoors,
I really
it's office
loved
work.
how you said that, though. I had to, instead of bucking him, I had to bend.
Yes.
I had to
But instead of competing, you compliment.
Yes.
Compromise.
And then God blessed me because I'm an out there kind of person, and I want to be a speaker, a writer. I want to do these things, but I didn't know how I would ever use anything. And I have used every part of my life. I didn't know what all that was for. And it was to prepare me for everything that I'm doing now. And then with Scott, how God brought us together, and I knew that he was the right one. And how the leading of God, that's the deal. Praying, seeking him, knowing him, and hearing his voice, and trusting that you're hearing his voice. Because often I'd be like, well, how do I know if that's what I really want? How do I know if it's God? But first of all, I have the mind of Christ. Second of all, I know the shepherd. I know, yes.
For me, God always leads me with peace.
Yes.
I can go through a rough day.
Yes.
And people look and be like, how are you even keeping calm? And the truth is, if I haven't lost the peace of God, I'm fine.
Yes.
I can be having a great day.
Yep.
And if the peace of God disappears, I'm like, time out, stop.
What's going on?
Yes.
Somewhere we crossed a line, we got out of bounds, and we got to figure out what's going to fix it, because I can't go anywhere or do anything until I get that peace back.
Yes.
You have that peace of God thing. But, when you talk about complimenting your husband, your word and your best Southern Alabama genteel is quit bucking him and band with him. Band. So here's the deal. You go from getting married and, maybe we want one or two kids.
Yeah,
At
so
what point did it go from 1 or 2 to 7?
7.
Because, Kendall and I have 4.
Well,
and people look at us like
say,
we were nuts
4.
for 4.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to go out on the limb and say that you're
Yeah.
crazy for 7, because I'd have loved to have 10. But, when did it become 7?
Well, we prayed in between, the kids. And
you didn't do much else, did you?
No. And so we prayed in between the kids and just felt like, it's okay. We're going to trust God with it. And if he thinks that we can handle it, then we can. And we'll just go for it, So, that's really it.
Well,
It wasn't like it was like 7
and you
was the
homeschool.
number.
No. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And see, here's the thing that I think is very important of that whole family dynamic. Starts with you deciding that you're going to bend and not buck. But seriously,
We do
because
that with God.
when your kids,
too.
when your kids see two parents that complement each other, they want to be around that relationship.
Yes.
Because I know that from
It's
my
really
life.
fun.
I know that from watching my parents be together, and
Right.
it's not a stressful thing; it's a joyful thing.
Yes.
And my parents created me, so it's a very natural thing for me to be around the two people that created
That's
me
right,
and
yeah.
watch them enjoy each other.
Yes.
When you're around two parents that don't enjoy each other,
Oh, right.
you want to get as far away from it
Yes,
as you
do.
can. You want
and
to,
you don't want to be like that.
yeah.
And you're like, I'm not doing that. I don't.
Correct.
And I'm not about to do it. I
Yeah.
even considered,
Do-
maybe
yeah.
I wouldn't get married.
Exactly. And there's a lot of, that's why I wanted to visit with you about this on our podcast, because there's a lot of young people that they come
Yeah.
from painful pasts with parents that, mom's been married a couple times, dad never
Yep.
got remarried, whatever the story is, they've written family and they've written marriage off.
Yes.
And I feel for them, because it's not
scary.
not my story.
Yes.
But it is in a chapter of your life, and it's something that you rewrote
Yes.
totally.
Yes.
Your current situation does not reflect your childhood at all. And you said something a little earlier in our conversation that I think is very important. You said when you got to UAB, where your husband was going to dental school,
Right.
you just graduated law school, you had a baby, you decided,
Yes.
because there's a lot of people who just, they don't understand they have to decide.
Yes, you do.
You decided you were going to enjoy that section of your life. There are a lot of people that they complain about their life instead of deciding, you know what, today's a good day.
Right.
I'm healthy. I've got a roof over my head. I've got food to eat.
Right.
There's a lot of things that you can sit there and list as blessings.
Yes.
That if you don't, you'll count them as burdens.
And oftentimes, those times, that is your God school, and that's the education you're getting, or you're in boot camp. I call it boot camp.
Yeah.
And and then he's sending you out. He knows what he's got for you, so then he's sending you out in the world. And when you start having more kids, it's like you're in the war, and that's the way that I kind of look at that.
Well, when you're a parent,
you don't have time for some of the boot camp
and when
stuff.
you're a parent, you're fighting for the future.
You are.
You
You
know,
are.
You are building the life of that child so that when they launch into adulthood,
Right.
they have all the right tools and equipment in all the right places.
Right.
So that whenever life throws whatever it's going to throw at them, they can either catch it or kill it.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
And one of the things that I see in young people today is mom and dad didn't prepare them. And so when life comes at them, they run right back to mom and dad and they go, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Yeah.
One of the things that it's not in all millennials, but it's prevalent amongst the millennial generation is I don't know how to do anything.
Yes.
And that's not their fault.
Yes.
Somebody didn't let them show them how to do stuff.
But you can learn how to do stuff now. There's no excuse.
That's right.
You can
now,
learn how
I
to
think
do
it's
it.
so cool for you to tell people, our listeners, about your kids, the 7 kids. I mean, they all have their gifts and talents,
Yes.
which is so important that as a mom, you had harvest these gifts.
Right.
You talk about your older son that loves to garden,
Yes,
and your
yes.
other daughter that likes to do cooking.
Yes.
But as a mother of 4, our kids are younger than yours, so we're trying to, what would you tell our listeners that have kids? How do you include them and they enjoy it and they want to be around, come in and help in the garden and the cooking and...
You just live your life alongside of your kids.
Yeah,
that's just really it. And the great thing is they see you in every aspect of life. So they see you having fun. They see you determined. They see they see your doubt in yourself. They see how you gained your confidence again. And they see the process of how you come to where you are.
Yeah,
and
you don't hide it from them.
No, it's all
every
out in
day's
the
a
open.
classroom.
Yeah, every day. And so everything I do, they do, and they know how to do everything I know how to do better. I mean, and that's what's crazy. I'm like, how can you do that better than me?
They learned from your mistakes.
They learned.
Maybe so.
Well, it is.
I mean, it's
let me tell you something. There are people who ask me, how did you know how to solve that problem? And the reason is I was a child when I watched my father confront that problem.
Yes, that's so important. And he showed him that, and he got to see it. But just
to have a front row seat with it.
Yeah,
and recognize, okay, based on what I've observed there,
right.
If and when this happens, here's how I should respond. And I've got something that I've literally lived it. I've got a very vivid picture of it in my mind. I go, that worked or it didn't work.
I'm not doing that.
Exactly. And so you at least know what you won't do.
Yes.
So that's why your kids can always do it better than you. Our children, when I was a kid, Dad had just started on television. And so whenever he asked us to get in front of the camera, it was like this big monster with a glass lens. If Kendall or I speak to our 4 kids about getting on television, they're like, when and where do you want us?
Yeah, and they actually compete. Like, well, who's going to be on camera?
Yeah, am I going to speak or they do it
great because that wasn't how I was.
They do it better than we do it, but that's because they're learning by observing.
That's right. That's right.
And so your kids are learning by observing, and that's where you say, live your life alongside of them. Stacy, to me, this all goes down to one scripture when it comes to the life of a woman, and it goes to Proverbs 31, which everybody talks about this Proverbs 31 woman. You hear about her in Mother's Day sermons, you hear about her in all these different contexts, and the thing about Proverbs 31 is that Proverbs 31 and verse 12, it gives the foundation for why a woman does everything she does. It says she does him good. Yes. And him is her husband.
That's right.
Let's clarify that. She does him good all the days of her life. Mm-hmm. And then verse 13 through the end of verse 28, She's an entrepreneur.
Yep.
She is a seamstress. She is a woman in the community. She is involved socially. She makes economic decisions. She does all of these dynamic things. She was actively involved in all aspects of the community, but every aspect of her involvement was for the purpose of doing her husband good.
Yes.
Bending, not
that's
bucking.
Right. That's right.
You know, deciding
right.
I'm going to compliment this man because this is the man, as you said, you know, I just knew I had the leading of God that Scott was the one.
Right. I am to be his helper in all things. And that's really important. And that's important for the man too, because he needs to realize that he's the one that has to do everything, and I'm his helper.
Yeah.
Which takes the pressure
It
off of
does,
us as
'cause
the
you're the
wife,
helper.
is that you know
Yeah.
that your husband is going to
Right.
provide for you.
Right.
And
It takes the pressure off of you to know that you have a provider, but it also takes the pressure off your husband to know she's going to support me.
Right.
And so many men that I meet, and they struggle in their marriage, and they struggle at work, and they struggle at this, the pressure to never fail
Yes.
is present upon them everywhere.
Yes.
If they fail at work, they'll get fired. If they fail at
Yes.
home, mama's
Right.
going to be mad.
Right.
If they fail in front of their kids, they're going to disappoint them. And when they have a wife that's a helpmate that says, honey, no matter what, we're in it together.
Yeah.
He at least knows if I fall flat on my face,
Yeah.
she'll be there to help me get up.
I think one of the best things that you as a wife can say is, we started once, we can just do it again. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
and just to give him him the freedom to make the decisions that he needs to make, and just say, look, what is this? I mean, who cares? This is just life. We can just start over.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had to start
so
over,
we call it like do-overs. Let's just do it
Just
over.
start
Yeah,
over.
we're just
Yeah.
start.
you know, it's fine. We'll just do it again.
You know, to that, for me, I'm sitting here in the different studio today, having a conversation with two Proverbs 31 women. They're you know, educated. They are entrepreneurial. They're engaged in business. They are engaged in the community. Now, Stacy Lyn, our podcast is about making a difference in your everyday life. Tell us 3 things that make a difference in your everyday life. They don't have to be deep. They could be the cream
Just
you
one
pour in your
word,
coffee.
yeah.
I would just say, you know, really having time with the Lord, and you know, every day if I can, but then knowing that I'm in the midst of a war at times, and that it's okay that that the soldiers can't just sit there, and we're soldiers in his army, and sometimes we're commanded to get up and do something. So you know, having that time with the Lord, getting to know him and to hear his voice, that would be, you know, the top priority. And knowing and trusting myself, I think that would be the next thing, is trusting myself that I'm going to make the right choice, because I have that relationship with the Lord. He's leading.
Yeah.
And if I don't go the right direction, eventually
He's
I
gonna lead me
will.
back into
It'll
God.
it'll
Yeah.
work out, you know, and he's got it covered. And the promises, you know, to me, the promises of God, just standing on those and just knowing, you know, there's some personal promises that I feel like that God's given to me. And, you know, I don't know, they may happen when I'm 78. I don't know. But I know that they're going to be. And to be able to look out in the future and say, yes, that's going to take place. I don't have to worry about that right now, you know, with things. I don't know. That probably was.
No, that's perfect. No, that's great.
If it makes a difference in your everyday life, I'm sure it's blessing those who are listening to it. Stacy Lyn, you're always a blessing to us. If you want to find out more about Stacy Lyn Harris and the work that she does, the life that she lives, and how you can incorporate some of the things that she's doing into your everyday life, go to stacylynharris.com, and I assure you, you're going to have a lot of fun when you do. It's been a lot of fun here in the studio today. Stacy Lyn, come back and join us sometime.
Oh, I cannot wait. Anytime. It's going to be great.
Kendall,
Love to
tell these
have
folks
you.
how they can subscribe to our podcast.
Yes, please subscribe to the podcast. Leave a review. Tell your friends. Share it on Instagram, all your social media aspects. And you can also go back and review the current episode now, or even previous ones. So find us at Matt and Kendall Hagee, and we'd be loved for you to tune in to the next one.
God bless you
Bye,
guys. Talk to you
guys.
later.
Bye.